People have been trying to figure out what a brewer of my size needs with 3 100-gallon pressure-rated stainless steel tanks. And the answer is it has nothing to do with brewing. It's actually part of a new escape act. You see, I'm sealed up inside the middle one, wrapped in plastic, inside a wooden crate, and then I escape and start shooting Ask the Meadmaker. Unfortunately, you missed the first part. Actually, I am standing next to these because they are an answer to our first question this week, which comes from Amelia. Since you moved to the new facility, have you made any major upgrades beyond getting more tanks and things like that? And the answer is, we're working on a bunch, but this is the first part of the one I'm most excited about. We have a guy locally who's building us a custom clean in-place system for our tanks. And this may not seem like a big deal. Everyone knows that cleaning tanks, if you're a home brewer, is terrible. But the issue for us is we get such a CO2 buildup inside those tanks that when we open the door, we have to clear out the space, and it's a little scary every time. We're as safe as possible, but this will mean that none of my brewers need to stick their head inside of a tank ever again, and I am so excited about it. Our next question comes from Waleed, who made a mead, and it was smelling a bit sour, and then Waleed, a gender-neutral name as far as I know, introduced strawberries mixed with sugar, and now it's really sour and has white stuff floating on the top. Where did they go wrong? And the answer is a couple places, probably. If you had a sour mead, it sounds like you went wrong right at the beginning, but taking a mead that is sour and putting it on white sugar and a fruit, especially if that fruit hasn't been sanitized or sterilized, is just asking for a sudden cultivation of wild yeasts and other things like that. So if you find yourself... David has another sour question, but on the other end of the spectrum. He made an acerglyn, a mead with maple syrup in it, and it smells sour, but it has no sour taste. What is going on? He thinks he did a pretty good job sanitizing and everything, so what happened? The answer is, imagine maple syrup without any sugar in it. What would that taste like? It tastes like the inside of a tree, which has a whole bunch of tannic compounds and other things like that. So, when you ferment a maple mead, especially if you ferment it very, very, very dry, the aroma, and often the taste also, is basically the inside of a tree, which I personally enjoy, but isn't for everyone. Rob has a teeny tiny little 2-liter barrel, and he wants to try oak aging his mead in it, but how long to leave it in there? Here's an important thing to know about barrels. The reason barrels are sort of standardized in the 50 to 60 gallon range is because that is a very, let's call it nice and convenient ratio of liquid to surface area. Since liquid volume inside a barrel increases faster, at a faster rate than the surface area, the smaller the barrel, the smaller that ratio, the faster your aging happens, but the less control you have over it. Sort of law of large numbers things. So the best way to deal with a teeny tiny little barrel is put your meat in, and when I say every day, you probably need to taste it every day, maybe even every 12 hours, and as soon as it tastes like it has enough of that oak flavor, pull it out of there. Our last question this week comes from Jacob, and we've gotten it a lot of times in different ways, but never in this exact way. He's going through our entire sample pack that he got shipped to Denver. Thank you, Jacob. He noticed that we use sulfite and sorbate in almost all of our meads. And he didn't want to do that, but wasn't completely against it. And then realized that our meads ferment completely dry, so why do we add sulfite and sorbate? And the answer is a single gravity point error in one of our readings. So let's say our final gravity is 1002, and because of the meniscus, we don't get it quite right, and it's actually 1004, 1003. That amount of residual sugar can actually make a can pop, or if we were in glass, the bottle explode. It's unlikely, But basically, as a commercial meadery, we do it as insurance. We're very proud of our meads. We think they taste great, and we want them to stay that way, and we also don't want anyone to get hurt drinking them. So, even though we don't need to, and for years we did not sulfite and sorbate, but now that we're shipping around the country, we just do it as I said, an extra bit of insurance. You can absolutely skip that step at home as long as you are sure your fermentation is completed. You probably know your own fermentation system better than we do. The other option is, as he said, heat pasteurizing the bottles. We don't recommend doing that because it's not as consistent on a small scale as it should be. You can do it again, but I'd rather you not get hurt by shards of glass. So, ferment it completely dry, follow our recipes, and if you want that final bit of insurance that pro brewers do, sulfite it, sorbate, force carbonate it. Not required, but that is what we do here. So, that was our last question this week. Keep sending them. I'll get to them as soon as possible. Cheers.